Thank you, everybody, for joining. We've got a lot of people in here already, which is exciting. Thanks for spending some time out of your day to learn from some really amazing people, which I am super grateful for you guys all joining here. And let's just make sure we can get the chat open. I'm going to get the chat open here. Little ground rules. The chat right here, make sure that you have the blue button on everybody. And there you go. Let's make sure you guys have the blue button on everybody. And so that way the chat goes to everybody here. If you have questions, you can put it in the chat. There's a specific Q&A section. This is going to be very valuable if you guys participate because everybody here is ready and open and generous of their not only their time, but their insight and their information. And so if you guys have that opportunity to ask the questions you want to ask, please put that in there because this is your chance to learn from freaking phenomenal people. So thanks for everybody for joining. We'll go ahead and start roughly going down the line here, explaining who you guys are, and then we'll go into the Inc. 5000 celebration and the question and answers. So while everybody's starting to join, if you guys don't mind and just share a little bit about who you are, and just what you do, obviously. And so we'll go Austin, Adrian, Turson, Nick, Zach. So Austin, can you kind of share a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Austin Yarborough. Central Coast Moving, I started in college. Honestly, I was working a teriyaki chicken job, and
Mm,
then worked at a two-man in a truck, and then started my business while going to school, put myself through school, brought it to my hometown in Central California. If you got our main competitor out there is Meathead Movers, and so Central Coast Moving started in officially 2018. So we're in a smaller town called Paso Robles. If you're a big wine fan, you can look us up. But Central Coast Moving has recently acquired Pearson Moving. So now we're in California and Arizona. So that's a brief introduction to me and the company. And Travis, you have any questions, you can hit me with that
oh,
or pass
plenty
it
of
on.
plenty of questions. So we'll go to Adrian next though.
Hi everyone, my name is Adrian Yorga. I'm with Stairhopper Movers. We are based in Boston, Massachusetts. I started the Stairhopper Movers back in 2005, so we are like 20 years now. Um, right when I moved here from Eastern Europe, from Romania, my journey in moving started in early 2005. I started with a friend of mine, another moving company. It didn't last, the collaboration only for like 3 months. And in October 2005, I started Stairhopper Movers. And it was at the beginning, it was just me and a buddy of mine on the truck, my wife in sales and customer service.
Mm,
I had in mind from the beginning that I want to be a hometown dominator. I really didn't want it to expand and have multiple location. So I had, my guidelines was to offer customer service and extraordinary support. So yeah, that's about it. That's my journey.
thanks for sharing, Turson.
Hello everyone, my name is Tursun Alkal. I actually moved to United States in 2016 and I started my moving company in 2017. After 1 year I was living here. So we're trying to grow my company called Mypro Movers and Storage. We're based in Northern Virginia. We're here like top movers in Northern Virginia trying to dominate the area.
Thanks for sharing. Go ahead, Nick.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick Friedman. I'm one of the co-founders. I like to say one of the original hunks with College Hunks Hauling, Junk, and Moving. Started back in 2005 with a beat-up cargo van and a buddy of mine from high school. We were also in college, like Austin, when we got started. And I describe ourselves as a 20-year overnight success. It's been a long, uphill journey. I'm sure everybody can relate to. Not for the faint of heart, but we've made it to a pretty decent size. We've got about 200 locations. We ended up franchising our business. That's a whole nother story for another day. It's not something I usually recommend to people, but we've seemed to have make it work and excited to be here. Excited to congratulate my fellow panelists on being part of the Inc. 5000 and of course everybody on the call that's looking to get better and stronger in their business.
Well, I appreciate it. You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to tell people you are an overnight success. Overnight meaning 20 years.
That's
And
right.
but you did bring up the franchising, so the questions are going to come about that. So you set the ball up there. So thanks for being here, Zach. Welcome.
Hey guys, I just want to say thanks. I was almost not gonna be able to make it, but then I saw who you were having on, and I really wanted to learn from everybody on here. So I'm so excited to be here. I canceled everything, and yeah, basically we started in 2021, Gainesville, Florida. So go Gators, and had some fun there. Started expanding over Florida, and just having a blast doing it. And I think our specialty is really just having a lot of fun with the customer service and sales. So we've been getting and just really doing a lot of fun with that and expanding over Florida and very new into franchising as well. So that's something that we're really excited about and learning a lot about. And like I said, I'm just excited to answer any questions you guys have and excited to have made this list. And we are just excited to continue to grow. So, yeah.
Well, awesome. Thanks for being here. For those of you who don't know too much about the Inc. 5000, it is a prestigious award. And just so you guys know, in order to have made it this year, I'm going to go through what it says on the website. You must be a privately held company for profit in the U.S. So you got to have that. Number two, you've got to generate revenue by March 31st, 2021. And then it must have been at least $100,000 in revenue in 2021. And then by 2024, you must have generated at least $2 million of revenue. Now, that kind of growth period is just the minimum to be able to apply. Then what happens is you apply, and this is not a pay to play kind of game. I didn't Rotate Digital didn't pay Inc. 5000 a bunch of money to say we're one of the fastest. They take your tax statements, they look at all those details, and then they line it all up and they go, here are the fastest. And these are the guys who were able to be a part of that this year, which I think is phenomenal. Every year we got moving companies that that make it, and this is the 2025 team here. So well done, and thank you guys for making it. I'm going to just get my chat live, and then we're going to go into the questions that we've got going on. And I like to be hard on you guys. I like to get I don't want the high level stuff. I like to have some fun questions. And so I'm going to start this off and set the tone. And maybe if a couple people want to answer this, this is going to be open for anybody. The first question I'm starting off with is, give us a story about the moment where you sit here and you go, damn, this is hard. Like you almost want to give up. You're just like, I don't want to wake up the next day. I don't want to get out of bed. What, like, zone into that moment and think, like, can you think of a time or what that looked like? Like what was happening? Share that, because I think there's a lot of people sitting here going, "Oh, you guys have it easy. You grow. You created a cool pink brand, and that just has taken off. I'm sure that's the only reason why you've grown. Think about that. Damn, this sucks, and I don't want to get out of bed moment. I'd love to hear some insight and some stories from you guys on that. So who would like to share first? All right, Austin.
Can you guys hear me good?
Go. Yep.
So this was 2021. 2020 we crossed 2021 we crossed $1 million mark. I was interested in going into mobile storage. I pulled a few triggers before I really had the cash to do so. We had a workers' comp audit for $40,000 because we had grown so fast and weren't prepared for that kind of growth. I took an EIDL loan out of 150,000. We bought a new truck and then bought a third truck. So we had three trucks of this size. And then I wanted to do mobile storage because I hated the wooden vaults. I felt like it was extremely inefficient. I pulled the trigger on 48 mobile storage units. And so back at that time, the ones I ordered were from Universal Storage Containers, and they're coming from China. There were a combination of 16-foot and 24-foot units, 48 of them, because 12 of them wasn't going to actually do anything. 48 of them sounded like it would do something and actually create real cash flow. So that's about $250,000 commitment. And I pretty much had to wire like $80,000 and then like $40,000 to this company I had no idea, had not done business with. And then I owed a significant amount more. And I guess there's this time I was in my first warehouse, and we had the two trucks, renting trucks, growing, becoming a better leader, and just stressed out with the day to day. Had just done like a daily checklist implemented into the team, and pulling the trigger before the stars were aligned. Like I was on the hook now for a quarter of a million. I mean, we needed about $70,000 more to get the units. So all these things, I had a new yard, a 2-acre facility lined up with a 2,000 square foot warehouse. $70,000 pretty much didn't have. And I didn't, and I don't come from a family where you can ask for money like that. And I didn't come from a group. And at 24 years old, you don't really know what to do and create that kind of cash flow. So it was in a moment like that I really, COVID was hitting, panicked, didn't know what to do. And so, I mean, you're still in that kind of, you're uncertain of the next corner. And so $70,000 was what I needed to do. And I actually dug and I dug, and I think this is for everyone listening. When you send an email to a government agency like the ARB or the government, you need to email them about 10 to 20 times, like again and again and again and again, and force these things into reality and manifest them. Because by doing that, I got my loan increased from $150,000 to $500,000. And so came out of it on top. One of the best loans and decisions I've ever made in my life, and it all worked out. But
Wow.
I was screaming the second I saw that loan got approved. So a moment like that does happen, and you can almost capsize your ship before it goes out to sea.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I'd like to have one more, and then we'll move on to the next question. Nick.
There were three that popped into my head. I'll make them quick.
Three.
Yeah, but the first was literally the very first time I bent over to pick up the other end of the couch, and it was like we came up with this catchy name. We put an ad on Craigslist. We got a call. We drove for what seemed like forever to get there. This was pre. We had the GPS that you would suction cup to the windshield, and it kept falling off every time we hit a bump. And we get out there, and like I bend over to pick up this couch, and we get it out to the backyard. We bend out over to pick it up again. And it just starts pouring rain, and it was like almost, I felt like it was like a symbol. Like, what are you doing? Why did you decide to do this after college? This is ridiculous. And then the second time was the first time we got a flat tire, which was probably about a couple weeks into the business. We were over on the side of the road just waiting for the tow truck driver to get there. And the tow truck driver gets there, and he looks in the cab of the truck, and he looks at us, and he goes, "You're the owner of this company?" He's like, "Take my advice. You want to make it in this business, get out." And so I was like, okay,
Really?
that's sign number two. And then I always tell the story. We bought a 1-800 number to try to make ourselves look bigger, and we put it on the back of our truck, and it was still routed to our cell phone. And so people would always call to complain about erratic driving, even though I'd be the one driving the truck, and I'd be answering the phone, pretending like I was in the office, saying like, "Oh no, we'll fire those guys when they get back to the office. Thanks for reporting." Pretend to wave to the person as they're driving by to make them not realize that I'm the one they're speaking to. But I do think everybody on the call, including the panelists, can relate to those early startup grinding stories where you just kind of figure it out. You don't have all the answers, and that level of persistence mixed with optimism and perhaps a little bit of crazy has to allow you to just keep plugging forward.
Yeah. I think there's a lot more crazy in us than we think. Adrian, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to share that I never had in mind to give up. I was obsessed with this moving business to make it work. That was my only option. I never had a plan B, so we made it work. Like it was hard at the beginning, but we made it work.
I think a lot of us could probably relate to that just idea of like, it could not work, but there's something in your brain you're almost turning off to be like, I have to make this work. Like I remember sitting in my chair. I had my second kid. I had spent a good portion of our savings on a course to help me start a marketing agency, and it was like, I have to make this work, mainly so my wife doesn't kill me for this purchase. So,
Exactly.
Turson, you got a story? Because if not, I got another question for you.
Yes, so all I want to say is just, I guess you have to do a business, not being a owner operator, because it's two different things. And when you're being an owner operator, it's even harder on you. But if you're doing business, I feel like it's way easier.
How did you get out of the owner operator side of things? Like what were some of the things that went through your mind, or the mindset things that you had to like overcome to be like, all right, I've got to not do this owner operator stuff.
Yeah, just look at the higher picture, and remove you from day-to-day operation and focus on the business, focus on the marketing, focus on how to grow, not being actually daily with a routine, that hard work and stuff, like, I mean, it's not easy, but it's hard to grow if you day-to-day in operation.
Do you happen to remember some of the things you told yourself to remind yourself not to, like you would like keep coming back to that owner operator mindset of just being on the trucks or trying? Was there something that you had to keep telling yourself like I've got to do this for XYZ reason, or no?
Yeah, of course. I mean, first of all, for your family. Second of all, you just, like, if somebody else did it, like, why you cannot do it?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I came to this country only in 2016, and I was like self-made. I started myself. I started with one truck, and yeah, like if you look at today, we're like almost number one moving company in our industry here in our
That's
region.
amazing. That's amazing. I am going to move on. I've got a question for Zach. Zach, you have a crazy brand, I think. I'm jealous of your brand. What I want to hear the story behind, like, how did you think about this? Why pink? How'd you dive into this? And like, did you find like this was actually really valuable for us to do this, or was it like, I don't know?
No, yeah, definitely. We've had a lot of fun with branding. I think branding is extremely important. But it basically started with so we have always partnered with ROTC. So that's been a lot of like military guys. These guys are going
Mm,
into the military as officers. So that's kind of where the strong and Ox Strong came from. And the pink was actually my grandma. She actually passed away from breast cancer, and so that was kind of something that we thought would be
mm,
just something. She was a big part of my life and my childhood, so I thought that was something pretty cool there. But yeah, the pink also, it's great for branding. It stands out really well. And recently, you'll have to check. It's not on all our trucks yet, but we now have ox horns. They're really Texas Longhorns. Don't tell anybody. But we have ox horns on all the trucks, and the clients. It's actually really funny. It started because we put them on one of the hoods, and we had one of our trucks. It was getting like a PM or a DOT inspection or whatever, and the mechanics all start taking pictures, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, look at these horns on the trucks." So then they start sharing it with people. People love the horns because a lot of times people go, "Oh, is this Armstrong moving?" So now Armstrong moving like the horns, right? And they're like, "Oh, I have seen the horns." So just having some fun with it. We got a lot of young great guys, so they like to have fun with it, and yeah, no, I think an early conversation that I also had was I was always curious on the people that were doing a really good job in the moving business.
hmm
And there's really two things, and I know there's a lot of moving company owners in this chat here that want to learn a lot about like Inc. 5000, how to get on the list and things of that nature. And I think more importantly, the revenue is definitely one thing, profit is another. But I do think in terms of profit, there's two things, and I asked accountants. I said, "Hey, what are the two things that really make a brand make more money? Like, why are these guys like you're going to one P&L and these guys are at 35% profit margin, and you're going to another P&L and these guys are at 10%?" I was like, "What is going on?" And the two things that he said it's branding, which results in pricing power. And he said, so if you have a really good brand and people trust that brand and they really like you, you can charge more money and then have better margins. Obviously, there's a million things, as we know, getting the right guys, making sure they're getting trained, making sure we have the right systems, making sure we have a phenomenal team, things like that. There's a million things we could talk about, but that was something that always stood out to me. So branding is just, extremely important, and it helps with pricing power and just making sure that, all the hard work that we all do as moving company owners, that we get paid. So I think that's really important. So
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing. What would you say on a quick kind of side note? I've got some clients. I won't name them, but I've got some clients where I look at their brand and I go, "You do phenomenal work, but your brand is bland. Your brand is bland." That's a new statement. Put that down for marketing. Your brand is bland. What would you tell them if they're sitting here going, "I know it is." Like, I kind of want to change that. Like, would you say like go all in, or would you say, it's not the end of the world? Like, what would you say to that?
yeah, I mean, I'd say start with something small. Again, we drive big billboards around every day. Um, And what I would say is just, start with the trucks, have some fun with the trucks, get a new logo. I mean, now with, AI, I mean, you could get all this done in 10 minutes. It sounds crazy, but you can literally just say, hey, I want my logo to look like a variant of this. I want these to be, the primary, secondary, tertiary colors. I want this to kind of look like this. And literally it'll spit out images like that.
Mm.
I think the videos still have some way to go. But with AI now, I think it's easier than ever to create a brand out of thin air. And I mean, I'm talking literally 10 minutes. You could have pretty much half of it done. And it could make the AI files for you. It can make the truck wrap. You can send it to the truck wrap people, and they would get that done. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. All right, Nick, I'm so sorry. You kind of laid the coffin here for you. I'd love to learn a little bit more about the franchising. Like what made you franchise? Looking back, what are the positives and the negatives? Because there's a conversation that I hear a lot with moving owners is they get a couple locations and they go, I'm going to franchise. And I think Zach, you're even considering it. So what if you could sit down and have coffee with them and share with them why you did it, the benefits, the downsides, things you would consider or do it differently? I'd love to hear. And I think a lot of people would love to hear your insight on that.
Yeah, so early in our business, we were burning out a little bit. One of our mentors recommended to us a book called The E-Myth, Revisited by a guy named Michael Gerber. Really simple business book. Basically talks about working on the business, not in the business, like Turson mentioned. And he talks about franchising a lot in that book. Not necessarily that you should franchise your company, but you should develop your business as if you were to try to franchise it so that you can, operate and function without you being there pulling all the levers, or in my case, driving the truck, answering the phone, and moving the furniture. So when I read that book, honestly, I didn't really know what a franchise was. And aside from maybe like McDonald's or, KFC or whatever. And so I started looking into it a little bit more. And I'll be honest, I would say, maybe a little bit of a naive, almost glamorized view of what it was going to be, versus what
Mm,
it ultimately is. When I read about it, I was like, oh, royalties, that sounds like quote unquote passive income. And this moving business is really hard. So we could just charge somebody else, teach them how to run the business, and then we collect a percentage of what they make. Won't that be nice? I don't really believe there's such thing as passive income. I mean, unless you just literally hand somebody your money and tell them to bring it back and you're hoping it comes back.
mhm,
So, and I don't think they don't really tell you that until you have 50 or 100 franchises, at minimum, you're not really making any money because the royalty stream is so nominal that you're just so dependent on the upfront franchise fees. So we were selling franchises to people we probably shouldn't have, and we were giving away too much territory. And we had these expectations that people were going to work the business the same way we had, and a lot of people who buy franchises, don't have the same grit or hustle that a startup founder might have. So those were just kind of, I would say,
mm,
learning lessons we had along the way. A lot of times when people come to me, not necessarily with moving businesses, but like with just an independent business, and they want to franchise it, I'll spend some time asking them kind of to try to unpack, what would be their reason for wanting to franchise. And I think the reason people will franchise is they want to scale the brand quickly. They don't have the capital to necessarily do it themselves. They don't have the manpower to necessarily do it themselves. And I think franchising can be a viable path to do that, but it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's, something that's going to take, like I said, in our case, over 15 years of franchising to really make it to the other side of that canyon, where the royalty stream is self-sufficient and where, we're not dependent on one or two franchise owners to sort of, hold the company hostage. And I think there's also, I'll say, a broad brush negative view about franchising, in that when a franchise owner is successful, they may resent the franchisor because they're having to pay fees, and they kind of minimize the value that you provided to them. And then another side of the coin is, if a franchise owner is unsuccessful, they may resent, or I should say, they may blame you because you were supposed to make them rich. You were supposed to make them successful. Of course, there's the quiet middle,
mm,
that may or may not show appreciation or partnership in the relationship. So it's really, I think the most important thing to stress is it's starting a different business. You're no longer in the moving and hauling business. You're in the franchise business, and you need to know the moving and hauling business because that's what you're teaching and selling. But you need to know the franchise business just as much, if not more. it's highly regulated. It's, very litigious and many other things that come along with that. So it's not for the faint of heart, but neither is the moving industry. So
Yeah.
if you've already sort of tackled one challenging industry, then what's another?
No, that's great. Thanks for sharing. If you guys got questions about that, put that in. But I'm going to move on to Adrian. Adrian, I want to hear you. I want to hear your own wisdoms and insights on staying focused. I think you've got Stairhopper, which has grown so well, and then we had a side chit chat about how you've got this other spin-off brand. I think there's really some really strategic things about having a spin-off brand that is not connected. But walk me through why you did that. Was it easy? Did it distract you? Walk me through that story.
Yeah, so like I said, we have a few core principles at Stairhopper Movers. So number one, we focus a lot on customer experience. We believe that is king. Our attention to details and clear communication and delivering what promise. This is our number one goal, to make the customer satisfaction number one priority. The second one, it's like we were talking about earlier, strong brand reputation. We were thinking from the beginning just to come up with something funny, something easy to remember. So that's how we came up with the jumping frog. Green colors with the box. We build a brand that stands for quality. And here, at least in our area in New England, when people think about moving, Stairhoppers, it's the top of the mind.
Mm.
The third one is operation. We focus a lot on operation as well, from scheduling and dispatching to training, claims management. Also very important, employee culture. We have a team very well motivated. That saying, happy employees, happy customers, and we play a long game. So for us, they're Hopper Movers. We have a vision for the long term. We don't think about today. We think about the future. On the other
Mm.
hand, 617, we started about a year ago. I was getting bored.
And this totally separate branding. Nobody
Totally
would
separate
know they
branding,
would be
separate
connected.
insurance, separate branding. It's a totally different company. It's a little bit more affordable, and it's also designed for local moves,
Mm.
mostly.
And how when you started that, was it very distracting, or was it like no, it was able to start without taking too much
He was
distraction?
a little bit distracted, but we kind of use the same, up principles that we have
Yeah.
for startup.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing. We're gonna go Turson and Austin. Turson, I got a question about P&Ls. I know you're a smart analytical guy. When you're looking at P&Ls as a CEO, I'm not talking like your accountants and what they do, but like as a CEO, Turson, how are you looking at that to make better business decisions? Are there specific line items you look at? Are there trends you look at? How do you open up a P&L and go, I'm gonna make better business decisions based off what I see here?
Yeah, so basically, right now I'm still in the process of building business and I'm trying to invest more and more every day. And I just, like take whatever I need to like live good enough life and everything else I'm trying invest back to the company.
Would but do you like look at specific trends, or are you relying on your accountant or CFO to do that?
Yeah, I'm relying on my CFO right now.
Okay.
Was time when I was doing myself, but nowadays, yeah,
Interesting.
you
Yeah,
have.
I find for me, I'm always like looking at and manipulating my P&L to make it as clear and as valuable to me as possible to be able to just get the insight and the answers I have. And my accountant will push back and be like, "Well, that's not how you're supposed to do it." I'm like, "Well, I need to make better business decisions. This is my playbook." Thanks for sharing. Austin, what about you? What are you looking at on a P&L that you go through? Is there specific things? Are you just relying on your CFO to kind of tell you what to do, or do you have things that you look at?
So I think like, I mean, what's been really interesting is that Central Coast Moving is a smaller market, less saturated with movers than Pearson is in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's been really interesting to see like the similarities and the differences. I would say like Pearson has a higher advertising spend because Central, oh, sorry, I'm doing the wrong hands, because Central Coast Moving has such a high brand. And so one thing that I really like, I think it's cool to compare numbers with everyone, but like, I don't, I don't really look at just movers for inspiration, especially with financials, because you're not my business. And like that's what makes us special. It's because we look outside of that. So I'm not we were like almost did the 60-minute CFO thing. I just didn't really feel like that was the direction I wanted to go. I want to be different. But so to speak, we're looking at, I mean, on the P&L, we're obviously looking at I do pay a lot of attention to where my fractional CFO is recommending. I mean, top things we're looking at are labor, how much we're spending on marketing, and I mean, most of the variable costs, right? And so I would say the labor, and then was it like additional labor, like out contracted labor? That's kind of interesting too. On long distance is something we're looking at. Is like, but I would say the main parts right now are just I
Labor.
rely heavily on my fractional CFO for this because I mean,
Sweet.
yeah.
Sweet. Well, I'm going to actually go all the way down to the bottom of my screen. Cesar, do you want me to Cesar Daniel today? How do you want me to do it? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry I've been late. I actually had my financial meeting today, so.
Which is why I'm moving on to you because I'm very curious about what you go through on a financial meeting. And so I'd love to hear like what did you go through? What does that meeting look like? And what are you trying to get out of it as the owner and CEO?
So we usually have it once a month. We have a couple of entities that we go over. Obviously, mainly is the moving company. We keep track of a couple of important metrics: gross margins, operating profit margins, EBITDA, current ratio, debt to equity. If you guys read the CFO, the 60-minute CFO, that's pretty much what Tracy encourages us to keep track of. By the way, I think Tracy's work is amazing, so it's good to get familiar with what she talks about and why it matters in a sense to have an idea where the industry is at. Obviously, every company is different, every market is different, and what makes the real difference is who's in charge, who's the leader, and you make the magic sauce happen. But at the end of the day, financials are important. As you grow, as you make more money, you have to have a strong financial basis to be able to analyze and make good decisions. Otherwise, mistakes will become bigger with time and you're going to collapse, and you don't want that. Your team, your company relies on you to be able to understand the implications that your finances have. So you better become an expert at it.
So when you had your once a month meeting today, was there something you were looking for specifically? Was it just some knowledge, or was there a decision you made from that meeting today? I'd love to kind of dive a little deeper if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So you're comparing month over month. First of all, year to date, compare with previous year. You look at the balance sheet, you look at the profit and loss, cash flow. You always want to see in what you have coming up for the next couple of months and week and the month.
Thank you.
We go line by line. Let me put it that way. We go line by line, and you say, let's see, how much was the labor last year in July? Okay, it was at 34%. This month is at 36%. Why? What happened? What's new? Things like that.
It seems like the why question is a very good question to always ask everybody on your team. I'm gonna shift from the P&Ls. I'm gonna ask one more question to you, Cesar. Again, sorry, do you want Cesar or Daniel today?
Cesar is good. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask one more question to you, and then we're gonna go through just so everybody knows what's coming. We got a lot of questions that have been built up, so we're gonna go through like spitfires. I'm gonna ask the question, and then everybody's going to give their 20 to 1 minute share on that. So just prepare your minds and be ready. But Cesar, I want to ask you a personal, more of a more intimate question here. I've visited your office before. I know you knew it was coming. And you have this, I mean, this office could probably be a hospital. It's so perfectly well organized. It's clean. It's got direction. Walk me through what brought that to the place to go, this is what we need to do. And then are there other places you see that flow out? Does it help bring in better talent? Like, walk me through a little bit of how that's come to be.
I'm a believer in balancing the workspace with what's the mission and the vision of what you're doing. And I think as leadership, you should always be mindful of how you structure the appearance of your company. It's crucial. If you want structure and order, you have to reflect that in everything that you do, because that appeals to your subconscious mind, and your workers, your guys will pick up on it. That's how you develop loyalty. That's how they will organize their livelihood and the way they operate in your company, because you provide that level of structure. So ideally, you want to have the rooms, the furniture, and the departments to reflect that order and structure. So I'm big on it.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. And do you feel like that flows out into other areas of the business or the people you hire, or is it like
So,
I'm just setting the example at the top?
well, it always starts with you. I mean, again, if you don't look sharp, don't expect your guys to look sharp.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not on point, don't expect your guys to be on point. So it starts with you, and it flows. The energy starts with you. That's what it boils down to. You have to represent what you want your people to follow. If you don't, you set the expectation.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Starts with you.
It's great. Thanks for sharing. All right. Well, we've got some insightful questions that people have asked. So I'm going to go through. We're going to answer these. You can either say, I'm going to skip this one. Okay, just so you know what's coming up, wonderful panelists. You can say, I'm going to skip this one. You can answer it. And if you answer it, I'm going to just ask that you keep it, unless you're like, I got some good stuff to share. You can let it run. There's no rules here, but try to keep it about a minute, give or take. It could be way shorter if you want. So feel free to skip it, but that's what's going to happen. We're going to ask some questions, and everybody's going to kind of peer into your life and the questions and the answers here. So are you ready? It's going to start on the top in the way I have it lined up. It's Austin, Adrian, Tursin, Nick, Zach, and Cesar. So you ready? You're going to need to maybe share about a minute on this one, if not a little longer. For those of us listening, there seems to be a shift in just buyer economics. People are holding their money a little tighter. They're not the luxury moves aren't happening as often. And so we want to know, like, have you made any kind of shift operationally to do smaller moves, or have you made any shift operational in terms of changing to adjust to make sure you're not left in the dust with kind of the changes that have happened over the last year and a half economically and in consumer purchasing? So start with Austin.
I think it comes down to value. I was a big follower. Here, let me set the timer. A big follower of Grant Cardone. He has this story about a hotel during the recession, and he put a fence around it. Everyone was lowering their rents, put a fence around it, and said it's dog friendly, and actually kept his rates the same. So you're providing more value is the focus. So, like with packing bundles, providing more value for a client where they're seeing and getting more in perspective. And whereas, so the question was like, what are we doing with buyers' decision making processes, and how they're different, and they're like more money saving, right?
Yep.
Okay. I would say getting them excited and like building like the movement of like, okay, your realtor's on board. Do you need any other resources? Like, it's not just about the price of the move, it's about the experience. So getting them excited about moving and what other opportunities there are and what lies on the other side at the next home. Like, hey, for long distance moving, we're focusing on like, hey, have you tried this restaurant? Have you looked into these activities to do? And so it's really hard to break up with a friend versus the salesman. So that's really what we're on the other side of the phone. So I'll leave it with
Cool.
that.
Thank you. Adrian.
Yeah, so with us, even after 20 years, we are still, we growing year after year, and we do all kind of moves. We have over 250 guys and around 50 trucks. So yeah, we are able to do all
handle all of it. Yeah. Tursin.
Yeah, like Adrian said, we also focus on customer experience. That's number one priority for us. And we also grow like year to year every time. And of course, like the most important that since we're focusing on customer experience, like I said, we building brand, and people will get married or get divorced every time. Like there is no season for that. Of course, the economical situation helps. If the rates goes down, I mean, there is obviously will be more moves, or like during the summer, of course, like people planning to relocate bigger houses. But hey, even, like people move all the time, all year long.
Thank you.
So
Nick.
that's how we get jobs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've always considered ourselves like a purpose-driven, values-based organization. I echo the sentiments about being team member focused, client focused. I think the industry as a whole has elevated the quality, which honestly I think is good for the industry. It's good for the clients. Of course, as the consumer, it's no longer riddled with mediocrity as it used to be. But I
Mhm.
do think we all as an industry need to start thinking about how we can charge what we're worth, because if we continue to raise the level of service we provide but don't charge accordingly for it because we're always trying to beat each other up on price, then nobody wins. We run ourselves out of business. So I think that for us, we've always been a mix of word of mouth. We've been a mix of guerrilla marketing, grassroots advertising, networking. Our business started with local moving and junk removal, obviously, and that's still kind of the core of our business is the residential local moves. Obviously, we've got infrastructure now to be able to service larger jobs, long distance, and so forth. But we've been pretty hyper focused on the local and just generating that word of mouth, traditional advertising, and grassroots.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, I definitely think I agree with a lot what Nick said as well, with just making sure like we're not trying to have a race to the bottom, right? I mean, the last thing we want to do is say like, oh my gosh, the phones are slow, let's lower our pricing. I think that's one of the worst decisions you can make. Again, talking about the P&L, that'll make the P&L look really bad. And I'll also mention, I think just from the initial call, like you mentioned, like taking on smaller moves as an example, I think if you're going to do something like that, that's fine. But you need to still charge accordingly, because you're going to send guys out on the road. You're going to take liability. You're going to take things on. So if you're going to do a smaller move, I think that's totally fine, but they need to understand what they're getting, right? They're not just getting two guys in a truck. They're getting X company and X guys that have got X training and got X certified and things like that, right? So just like the difference between saying two guys in a truck versus two licensed professional movers, the equipment, you're going to get all this stuff. You're going to get a box truck with a 4,000 pound capacity lift gate. Just in the way that you frame what they're getting is going to be extremely important. So I think it starts with the phone. And then I think as well with the guys, like on the day of the move, whether you have AI tools doing this or your dispatchers, but the notes that you're going to get 2 days out from the move, having your guys know what's going on that move. And again, it's not what you say. Clients don't remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel, right? So if you leave them with a personal note, something that you heard on the initial sales call, or you heard something 2 days out, and then you express that when you're doing the walkthrough at the beginning of the move, you take the stress level way down, right? Because that first 15 minutes of the move, you're going to create a ton of value by putting them at ease. And then that'll also drive you being able to charge more money, right? Because then they're going to tell their friends, families, neighbors, and you're going to get a lot of more word of mouth, repeat customer business. And again, it's not what you say, it's how you make them feel. So just, I think thinking about that a lot, we think about that every day. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. All right, Cesar.
There's not much to follow after that, but obviously you have to adapt. You have to know your numbers. You should not move your truck with the guys if you don't know how much it costs you. So it doesn't make
Mhm.
sense mathematically. You shouldn't take the job. We have to adapt. We have to be better salespeople. You have to educate the customers a little bit better. Now, because there are a lot, like, I don't know about your markets, but in Chicago, we have over 400 moving companies. So we need to know what we're talking about and what we're doing. Just know your numbers, be better and educate your customers. And you have
Yeah.
to adapt. It's part of being a businessman.
Yeah. Incrementally better is something that we talk about with our team, is how do we just get incrementally better in what we do? And it's easy to say, it's hard to execute. So thanks for sharing that. I'm gonna take over your business, right? You things have gone crazy, and you said, Travis, come on in. And I said, all right, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slash all your marketing, but you get to keep one channel of marketing. What does that look like? And I'm gonna for time's sake, so I got a couple more questions before we finish up. I'm gonna try to keep it around 30 seconds. So I'm slashing everything, but you're keeping something. What is that? We'll go Austin first.
Keeping Instagram.
Instagram. Okay, why
Mhm.
quickly?
Instagram is the platform where I see most realtors. It's the best way to connect with them
Mm,
and get insight on trusting us. You want to be, You choose people because you know, like, and trust them. That's the platform on which I've decided it's the one I've seen the most movement in, and it's the one I've capitalized the most on. And that's why we're here on the Inc. 5000 panel, I think.
Yeah. Beautiful. Adrian.
I would say Google. I still rely on Google 100%. Obviously, all the other markets like, social media, Yelp and all that, but I think Google is still number one
Number one. Okay. Google. Turson.
for us at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Google too. Google is the ocean.
It's the ocean. I like hearing that. As a marketing company, I don't mind if you guys say that as an answer. So thank you for saying that. Nick.
Uh, I,
Hmm.
I don't want to copy everybody and say Google also, but it's, the I guess the evil villain that we all have to continue to pay.
They are an evil villain.
Yeah, I'll switch it up and say truck wraps, vehicle wraps.
Okay.
That's a
Why?
good one.
Quickly. Yeah.
It's been said already. Everybody on here has a great brand. I mean, nothing gets the trucks on the road like the trucks on the road. It's people see it. It creates familiarity. It creates awareness, and I mean, you can build a business without it. But it's. I remember when we had one truck, people asked us if we had 10 because they had seen it in different places, and so that was the first piece that really triggered me. Actually, I had a question for Zach real quick. Where do you put the horns, on the front of the uh, thing or up on the top? And do you worry about them getting knocked off by branches, or do they get knocked off by branches?
So right now we have most of them on the hood. We put a couple on top. We make sure the horns don't go outside the radius, so nobody's getting poked in the eye or nothing like that. But no, the
Very,
customers, they love. We get the picture. We get the kids on the hood. They love taking pictures with them, so they have a ton of fun.
very
But I
cool.
I love that.
That was amazing. All right, Zach, your answer for this question.
The answer is not horns, but I will say that I do think I'll say Google as well because I definitely agree with Thurston and Adrian and Nick obviously as well, and I think I don't know if I can say Instagram. I think that's a great answer too. I think Instagram's a lot of fun, but I do think I'll change it up a little bit and say the Google reputation that you have, because whether they find you on Instagram, whether they find you via truck wrap, obviously via Google they're going to see your reviews, but the whole point is they are going to look at your reviews, right? This is 2025,
Mm,
okay? Customers know what's going on. And they need to know that the company that they're going for has a good reputation online. So I would say not just Google, but your reputation on Google is the most important.
mm. Yeah. I look, it's a webinar I put on, so I'm going to hijack this for a second. We have clients that their reputation, their Google reviews are 4.1, 4.2, 4.0, and they come to us and go that I'm struggling. And we're telling them the rankings going up. It's like, well, you're going against some massive competition. Look at anybody of these guys that as here on the panelists, like none of their reviews are super low. They have a overarching bell curve, very high standard, very good reviews, and they need to do that in order to keep customers coming in the door, in order to gain that trust. And trust is such a hard thing. We're in a time now where nobody trusts anything, and so it's like you've got to gain that trust. So glad you brought that up. Cesar, you're up on this one. I've taken over your company. Something's gone drastically wrong and you've let me in, and I'm slashing everything, but you got to keep one thing. What is it?
By the way, I always say in meetings that we're in the trust business, not in the moving business. I always say that. PPC campaigns, I think it's our biggest, I would keep.
Beautiful. I love that. PPC, Google. Honestly, there's a lot of Google answers. I didn't pay them to say that. So I'll give my 1 minute sales pitch later on. Okay, 30 seconds or less on each one of these. We got 2 more questions left, and then we're going to wrap this bad boy up. When did you guys decide to get away or off of the moving truck? When did that happen, and why was that decision there? And try to keep it about 30 seconds or less, starting with Austin at the top.
I think I just saw, like, I don't know, it was like the Facebook Moving Owners Unite. And I hired a business consultant, and it was just like, everyone says don't work in your business, work on your business. It's like, yeah, like, what does that mean? How do I do that? And so, like, I think that was the group that was like the catalyst. Like, I don't have to do this anymore. I'm actually hurting my business working in my business, and I should be replaceable at every single role in my business, all the way to CEO. And that's how you build leaders within your business, truly.
Yeah, beautiful. Adrian.
Right from the beginning, I just realized that I want to grow my business, and you cannot grow your business if you are still on the trucks.
Okay. Wow, beautiful. Turson.
Yeah, almost same thing. I think when I bought my third truck, that's when I realized that I need to on more getting trucks and focus on the business itself.
Beautiful. Cool. Nick, and you can't answer when people called in and told you you're a bad driver. So
Yeah, I think 6 to 12 months into it, probably enough of that burnout was happening where there was only so much that the two of us could do in a single 24-hour time frame that we said if we're ever going to have another truck, let alone another location, which was our vision, we can't be the ones doing all the technical work ourselves.
Beautiful. Zach.
Yeah, no, I can definitely still remember it. I remember because I became such a bad mover because I was always on the phone. And
Mm,
they were like, "Oh man, we got to work a job with Zach today. Are you freaking kidding?" You know, the guys would give me a little, but definitely, no, pretty quickly, as we got busier, it was I was the guy. You call Armstrong, you talk to Zach, right? So that was had to get, then that was me getting off the trucks. So yeah.
beautiful. Cesar.
Oh, late in the game, probably 2, 3 years after I opened, I was still on the truck. It's
Good to be.
been it's been many years since I've been in the field, but yeah, late in the
Wow.
game.
Later in the game. It's interesting that you guys all say semi early in the game or within 12 months or whatever. I surprisingly to you guys, my story is I never really did the SEO. And I think one of the catalysts of our growth was just me being out and focusing on the sales and focusing on really thought that was Jack Daniels right there, Cesar. Focusing on the sales and focusing on growing the business. And I think for you guys who are sitting here and you've been on the trucks for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, this might just be your nudge to go, man, if you want to be up here in a couple years, you want to be on this Inc. 5000 panel, you can't do it sitting on the truck and trying to do all the moves. You've got to just push through that pain. And it's painful. I think every single one of these panelists would say it's a very painful process to get out of the truck because you lose that control. And then you've actually got to create something better than when you were on the truck without controlling and being there on the day to day. And so it's a challenging process, but I think everybody would go, the pain was worth it because you could grow and focus on the bigger picture. I think Turson or Adrian, you guys talked about, I look at the bigger numbers, I look at the bigger picture here, and it's very hard to do that while you're on the truck. So awesome. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to go into our last question here. You can spend about a minute or so or less. And one of the things we've been noticing with a lot of our clients, because we're tracking and analyzing sales calls with all of our clients now. And one of the things we're noticing is sales is tough for some of these clients. Closing the deal, answering the call, some of the standard stuff, and some of it they're decent at it. Just sales is tough right now, and people are holding their money back more. And so what is one thing that you guys feel like your sales department or your team or your salesperson does really, really well that sets you apart and or helps you close better? So imagine I'm sitting around here and I'm feeling like my sales team is struggling and they're looking at you guys going, what's the unique thing? They're coming visiting your office or visiting your salesperson. What's that unique thing that you go, this is something unique that we do really well that's either unique to us or special that helps us close more deals, hence making more money. So I'm going to start at the top with Austin and we'll work our way down again. Go ahead.
I'd say one of the most unique things that we do is we role play every single day. It's the beginning of the day, and my team does it. We also train inside the Moving Army, so it's the coaching platform that I created. We also train with everyone on Fridays. So not only does it make us really good training every day, we also coach others and grade others on how to train, which allows you to get to more of an advanced level. I think objection handling, we only get the same 6 objections every single day. Have to talk to my wife, time stall. I'm not ready to make a decision. I'm getting multiple quotes. It costs too much. And my escrow isn't, I need more information. And so, like, you're really only getting these same objections every single day. You'd think you'd master them, right? But turns out most of us don't. And so the reality is that you need to master the objections. Write this down. Everyone's listening to this. Take note. All the objections that you're getting tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, and write them down and then put a little line next to them. Which one are you getting the most? Practice that one 100 times where you can walk backwards in the dark blindfolded and handle it. And then you're going to close a ton of more deals.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think a lot of us can be caught red-handed training 1 or 2 times and calling it a day and not training over and over and over again. So, Adrian.
Yeah, for us, it's very simple. Provide value, solving the customer's problems, and we are not that aggressive with sales. Maybe we should, but we are currently booking about 70% of our leads And I think this is due to our branding and reputation.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Turson.
I would say probably follow-ups and reputation, because nowadays lots of people they shopping around, and if you do it, if you're doing follow-ups on time, you know, and if you have strong reputation, customer will come back.
Beautiful. Okay. Nick.
It's been a couple things I would echo, but definitely if you're not training, you're not gaining, and it's not an event, it's an ongoing repetition and reinforcement. I would say don't make your best salesperson a sales manager. I think that's we've done that. I get
Yeah.
so upset when we do that. You know, LeBron needs to be on the court, not on the sidelines coaching. That would be probably my two things I would share there.
Beautiful. Zach.
I was jotting a couple down. I have three here. I think I like the sports analogy, so I'm going to go with it as well. But yeah, even Michael Jordan, LeBron, I don't think they do nowadays, but they used to practice every single day. So objection rebuttals, what Austin said, I 100% agree. You got to train on those daily. Second one, if you're doing an on-site, which a lot of people don't nowadays, but I would recommend having the husband and wife there. Always say, hey, you have a spouse? Are they going to be there too? Because that's a tough objection, right? I got to talk to my wife. I got to talk to my husband. I'd say the third is at the end of the call, say, hey, do you have a friend, family, or neighbor that's moving soon? Especially a really good call. And again, getting those secondary referrals will help a lot.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. Cesar.
We emphasize training, so educating the customer is one of our core things that we do in sales. Unfortunately, again, because of the market that we are in, it's highly regulated, so we can emphasize sales as much as Austin talks about. I can hear Cardone in the way he speaks. But it's educating the customer.
Education of the customer, training, education. It's amazing. I do find it interesting that these amazing company owners here are sitting here, and none of them are saying we've got this cool close to deal pitch. We've got this one unique thing. It's like we got the fundamentals, and we keep leaning into the fundamentals and the reputation, the training, and the education on ongoing. And I think that's something that's really key to pick out if you're listening and you're going like, there's no golden BB that just changes everything. It's these ongoing, just back to the same thing, fundamental processes that just continue getting incrementally better. So, well, that's amazing. I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining here today, and thank you for being here. And I'd love everybody to put in the chat like a one or a thank you. These guys are busy. They're growing, fast-growing companies, and to ask for an hour and a half of their time is absolutely crazy. And I did it, and they said yes, which I'm super grateful for. And they've made the Inc. 5000, and they've given us their time. And so I want you guys to just say thank you to them, encourage them that this was worth their time, energy, and effort, and just encourage them in the chat right now while we do that. And I'm going to just end it. I want to share a little bit about Rotate Digital does, because a lot of you guys have not heard of us before. We find most moving companies come to us and they go, I'm spending money on marketing and I have no idea what's working. I'm burned before because marketing companies are all sleazy and sucky. And number three, I want to grow and I need a plan that actually works. And so what we have done here and created is we got a visibility engine on how to get you guys more visible. We have an accountability mirror. We're trying to make revenue and ROI the common language that we talk about. And then we've got a clarity engine. It's a software we've developed that combines the marketing data and your sales call data, and it's analyzed by AI to give you the sales information so you get a final attribution so you know exactly what your ROI is on every single marketing channel. So I wanted to just share with you guys a little bit about that. But everyone, thank you for coming. Every single person here, I appreciate you sharing. You didn't have to be here. And to give all that insight is just super generous and just shows your mindset and your care for the industry. So thank you so much for being here. I'd love to have you guys on individually on our podcast. I have you guys on other webinars. So just know it's coming. The ask is coming. But thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week.
Thank you,
Great job,
everybody.
everybody. Keep up the good work.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for joining. Have a good one. We'll see you.
See you.
Bye.
Let's
Bye-bye.
go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.